Welcome back to Military Comebacks. Today's story is one that will move you, inspire you, and maybe even leave you speechless. It's about a single moment that reshaped how people think about strength, courage, and determination. Picture yourself standing among some of the toughest soldiers in the world, watching someone accomplish what seemed impossible. The sun was just rising over Coronado, California. Waves rolled gently onto the shore, and the salty breeze cut through the cool morning air. It was another brutal training day for the Navy SEALs, one of the most elite fighting forces on the planet. These men were no strangers to pain, pressure, or pushing beyond human limits. That morning, a group of SEALs stood around a pull-up bar near the training compound. They were relaxed but competitive, cheering on a teammate attempting to break a long-standing endurance record, the most pull-ups completed in a single session without rest. The number to beat was 231, a mark set nearly 10 years earlier by a respected SEAL legend. No one had managed to surpass it since. As the cheering continued, a woman appeared near the gate. She wore jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and a windbreaker with a Navy emblem on the sleeve. Her hair was neatly tied back and she carried a clipboard. At first glance, she looked like an administrative officer or perhaps someone from medical staff. Most of the men barely noticed her, but when she stepped closer, the noise began to fade. "Excuse me," she said calmly, her voice steady but firm enough to draw attention. "Is this where the pull-up record is kept?" A tall SEAL named Rousseau nodded. "Yes, ma'am. You here for paperwork?" She gave a small smile. "Something like that." Her eyes shifted to the bar and the chalk bucket beside it. "Mind if I try?" The group went silent. Few exchanged amused looks. "Ma'am," Rousseau chuckled, "this isn't a demonstration. That record took years of broken hands and torn shoulders to even approach." "I understand," she replied evenly. "I'd still like to try." Another SEAL, Diaz, grinned. "You trained with us before?" "Not exactly," she said, "but I've had experience." She didn't look like a typical operator. She was lean, compact, and quiet. But her steel-gray eyes held a calm confidence that slowly erased the smirks from their faces. Rousseau finally nodded toward the bar. "All right, but we don't do sympathy rounds." "Neither do I," she answered. She stepped beneath the bar, chalked her hands, tested her grip hand, began. Her movements were flawless. No swinging, no wasted motion. 1, Diaz counted. 2, 3, 10 turned into 20. 20 became 50. Her rhythm never faltered. No shaking, no gasping. Just precise, controlled power. The joking stopped. At 75, even Rousseau's voice lowered. 100 sweat formed. Along her forehead, she adjusted her grip and kept going. More SEALs gathered. Whispers spread. No one recognized her, but everyone knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. At 150, her arms trembled slightly. Her breathing grew heavier, but her eyes never lost focus. "Who is she?" a young SEAL whispered. Rousseau shook his head. "No idea, but she's about to outdo half of us." At 190, Diaz called out, 10 more to tie the record." Her hands were red now, fingers torn. A trace of blood marked the bar. Still, she pulled herself up again. She hung there for a second, breathing slowly. The entire compound felt frozen in time. Then she pulled again, and she finally dropped to the ground. Chalk dust floated through the air. The stopwatch read 18 minutes. Rousseau stepped forward, stunned. "Who are you?" She caught her breath and gave a faint smile. "Lieutenant Commander Aaron Holt." A few men stared in disbelief. The name was known in quiet circles of respect. She had been among the first female SEAL officers to complete joint special operations. Training overseas, her endurance and mental resilience were legendary. Years earlier, after a serious injury, she had disappeared from active duty. Many believed she had quietly retired. "I thought you were done," Rousseau said. "Maybe," she replied softly. "But I still believe in testing limits." The group stood silent. "It's not about records," she added. "It's about proving that strength doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it's steady. Sometimes it's quiet." The young recruit stepped forward. "Ma'am, do you keep going when your body is screaming at you to stop?" She smiled gently. "You stop listening to your body for a while, and start listening to your purpose. When you remember why you started, pain becomes background noise. Later that day, Russo found her sitting alone near the ocean, hands wrapped in gauze, staring at the water. "You broke it," he said quietly. 233. "Records are meant to fall," she replied. "It gives someone else permission to dream bigger." He hesitated. "Why today?" She looked toward the horizon. "I made a promise." "To who?" "My training partner, Taylor. He set the original record 10 years ago. He used to say it wasn't about being the strongest, it was about giving others something impossible to chase." She paused. "He died during a rescue mission in Afghanistan. I thought it was time to show him his dream still matters." Russo lowered his head. "He'd be proud." "I hope so," she said quietly. That evening, as the sky turned orange and gold, a recruit approached with a camera. "Ma'am, the team wants to hang your photo next to the record board. Is that okay?" She nodded. "Only if you write something under it." "What should it say?" She smiled softly. "Strength isn't measured by muscles, but by moments." The photo captured her standing against the sunset glow. Every SEAL present knew they had witnessed something unforgettable. When footage of her record spread online, people across the world were amazed. Many called her the Silent Storm. But for Aaron Holt, it was never about recognition. It was about honoring a promise, preserving a legacy, and sending a message to anyone who had ever been underestimated. Days later, Russo found an envelope in his locker. Inside was a note in her handwriting. "Never underestimate quiet strength. Sometimes it's the kind that changes everything." Tucked behind the note was an old photo of Holt and Taylor in uniform, smiling beside that same pull-up bar 10 years earlier. Russo placed it next to the new record board, bearing her name. Every recruit who passed it paused, read her words, and felt something shift inside, because real strength doesn't shout, it endures. And if you ever doubt your own worth, remember this story? Remember the woman who walked into a SEAL compound as a visitor and left as a legend? She didn't just break a record, she broke a barrier. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories here on Military Comebacks.